Hi, this is Steve Silberstein, and we're going to do a video version of my class, Shooting Your Artwork, for submission or presentation. And we're doing it in the spirit of today, which is we're pretty isolated out here, and it's a one-man production, so with some assistants quietly in the background, self-isolating with us, and we'll go from there. We're going to start by shooting an oil painting in progress. It happens to be easy for me to get those because my wife is an oil painter. And oil has some interesting challenges. The first being that it can be very reflective. So the trick is lighting it. And we'll spend some time on that. We're going to make this fairly simple process. It's going to use your phone. It's going to use hopefully available light and tools that you have you can get for free on the phone to tune the picture and make it real. Pretty easy. We've done this before in person, and this is the first time we're taping it, so let's go along for the ride. So we like the light where this is, a lot of indirect light, no sharp lights coming from the kitchen lights, and the light coming in the window is bouncing around. Now originally I put it down right here, and it was all this bright light behind the picture, and that was causing what's called flare in the camera lens, and that's when you see this whitish kind of overlap coming around everything. Flare isn't great for shooting things, so I moved a little further to my left, and now I'm not shooting at this really bright light coming through the window. I just have good light on the picture. So now it's time to shoot. I have my grid, which will help me center things. I'm going to add a white piece of paper, which is really important because it's going to help me adjust for true colors and deal with the color of light. My painter in the family always tells me that shadows are blue, and I get to add that it's a cloudy day and the light is bluer, and we don't want the picture to have a blue tone. So we're going to use the white as a reference later on when we do a little bit of adjustment to get the color right. I'm also going to add something I have as a photographer, a gray card. I'm going to sneak that in for the moment anyway. You don't need it, but I'm going to do it because I may demo some things with it. So they're just at the bottom of the picture. Now I'm going to use the regular lens. There are 3 lenses on this particular phone. Most phones have multiple lenses these days. Don't do digital zoom. Please don't do digital zoom. You can do that later in software. Just pick a 1x if you can and zoom with your hands. We don't need to fill the frame. We'll leave a little bit of border around, and I want to capture the white cards, the gray card. I'll use the grid to align and get a shot. And when I press, it's a really, really gentle press. Don't bang on the shutter. It just needs a gentle press. I've got the camera held. This is my free tripod, holding it steady and just touching the shutter button. So let me get another one, and to make sure I have a good one. And we are good. Okay. Now I'm going to do one other thing. This is a little more advanced, but we'll try it anyway. You can pick a point on the camera, on the picture, and press. You get a little square button.
Got it.
Okay. And if you do that, you now have some control over where the focus is, where the exposure is set, and the ability to change the exposure. So I am going to, well, I'm looking at the camera, and I see that this area down at the bottom is really, really bright. I'm worried that maybe it's too bright. So I'm going to press and pick a manual adjustment, and if I just drag down, I'll show this a little more later. If I just drag down on the screen, the exposure is lessened. Get a picture, I'll get 2 while I'm at it. That goes away, so I'll redo it. Boom, done. And you can see that we have probably a pretty good shot here. Okay, we're going to move on to making a few corrections so you're ready to go. Okay, so now we have quite a few versions of the painting on our camera, on the phone, and just go to the last one I took. That's pretty good. Looks pretty similar. So I think we're going to stick with that. Remember, we did a little bit of that manual exposure adjustment, not critical, but it does help. And we're going to use one piece of software, free program, to just tune the colors a little bit because they're a little bluish, a little purplish, or as the painters would say, cool. Maybe not blue, but cool. And it's a little too cool and not showing the best of the picture. Still pretty acceptable. I'd go with it, but I'm sure the painter would not be happy with the way it is. So we are going to use an excellent and free program called Snapseed. SNAPSEED. You can download it on your Android or on your iPhone. We'll fire it up. We have the last piece of art there. We're going to open from the device all my photos, and I think it was the last one that I liked, so let's open that. Okay. And I just expanded that a little bit with my fingers because I want to get that white area, and go to the tools. And there is, and truthfully I haven't used this just yesterday, so it always takes a while to get back into something. White balance. Coming really close, you can see what that looks like. I'm going to pick the white balance tool and select the eyedropper, and I'm going to drag it down to the white because we want white to be white and not to be the color of whatever the light is, whether it's in the house or outside. And you can see the temperature number changed. I'm going to hit the plus, the check, and we now have the light balanced, the white balance set correctly. And it looks pretty good. And I like the exposure. You can change exposure, overexpose, underexpose, but this ended up pretty good on one shot. I'm usually not that lucky. Let's do one last thing. Now that we like the picture, we're just going to crop and drag in the corners. There we go. It was pretty straight. Now there's also a straightening tool here if you need to change the perspective. Hit the plus. Export. Well, if you look really closely, it probably picked up a little extra here, but I'm just going to let it ride for the moment. Export. Save a copy. Okay, and I'm going to save a copy because I can come back later and make more changes. And it's successfully saved. If I go back to my photos now, I have, voila, the final image. Now, often there are very stringent recommendations from various places you'll submit to about DPI and resolution, et cetera, et cetera. The tools on the phone are not optimal for that. But more and more, you're seeing that the organizations are being a little less stringent about it. Don't tell anybody at the Art Guild I said that. And the technology can handle it. So go for it. If you need to tune resolution, maybe we'll do another video on using some other tools. That's best done on your computer versus the phone. But we got pretty far here from where we started. So just a reminder of what we did. Let's do a recap in a moment. Well, let's do the 60-second recap. Set up your camera if you can, turn on the grid in settings. It's a very powerful tool. Okay. When we're going to take the picture, we're going to use one of the built-in lenses. Don't do any digital zooming. You may want to adjust the exposure a little bit. Do that by pressing. You'll get a highlight box, and then outside the box, if you drag up and down, you can change the exposure. It's better to be slightly underexposed because it's easier to fix that than overexposed. Once your whites get all white, you can't bring them back. And we also found good light, diffuse light, not directly on the subject, really important for oil painting, so you won't get all these little reflections every time there's a slight bulbous piece of oil paint. And lastly, a piece of white paper, just folded up computer paper, sitting in front or on the side, doesn't make a difference where, which we'll use as a white balance reference, because as painters, you know, there's always the color of light, the magic hour warmth, the coolness of shade, and we want to take that out and just have good neutral daylight on our picture. And then we'll go, lastly, various editing programs. You can use the built-in editors, but if you want to get rid of that, or want to do the white balance, a program which works on both Android and Apple is Snapseed. Try it. Remember that digital film is free, so you will screw up. I've done this hundreds of times, so I'm still figuring it out, but it isn't that hard, and we'll follow up with more. Thanks for watching, and good luck, and keep on painting.
That was good.
And a late ad of a message I left out. Please turn off live view on your phone, because the quality of the image won't be the same, and it's really more about getting a set of images when you have live view on than getting one good image. So live view is the icon on the Apple phones. Top right, looks like a few rings, and then there's a little bullseye. And the X means it's off, and it says live, and now it doesn't have the X through it, the line through it. So please turn that one off. Thank you.